Okay, everybody, this is the moment we've all been waiting for, my Dark Knight review. Why would you be waiting for it? I don't know. Hey, everybody, this is David, and today I'm going to be talking about The Dark Knight, the movie starring Christian Bale, Heath Ledger, directed by Christopher Nolan. And yes, this is my favorite movie of all time. Definitely, yeah, the movie that I really enjoy the most. If I really think about it right now, I think I enjoy it more than the Avengers, more than Star Wars, more than Indiana Jones, more than the Lord of the Rings. If I had to pick that movie that I really love the most, it's going to be The Dark Knight. And maybe it's no surprise to a lot of people because if you go even on the IMDb, the top 250 movies of all time, The Dark Knight is up in the top 10. So a lot of people do really enjoy this movie. I know a lot of people that enjoy this movie as well, just as much as I do, and might even consider it themselves one of the best movies of all time. Why is it? Let's start talking about it. So, first of all, you gotta talk about Heath Ledger when talking about this movie because Heath Ledger is just amazing. When everybody first heard that this guy was casted, I mean, the whole talk was on the internet, anyways, was the guy from Brokeback Mountain. So there were all these Brokeback Mountain jokes at the time, and this outrage that was going on. Very similar to the way Ben Affleck, when he was cast as Batman, and then people started warming up to the idea, especially when they saw him in Gone Girl, people, and seeing the trailers, that's what really shut the people up. And it was kind of the same thing with Heath Ledger. People talked shit about it, and then once the first trailer was released, okay, everybody saw what was going on, they saw how the performance was going to turn out, and they kept quiet and they said, okay, let's give this a chance. And it was great, man. You can't deny it. Heath Ledger embodied some of what the other Jokers have brought to the table, but he upped it to the next level. In many ways, even beating Jack Nicholson, which was very huge. Jack Nicholson himself was great at the time, but I think Heath Ledger surpassed him on every level. And I mean, I guess it's also no surprise that he got the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for this film. And some people think that he got it because he did pass away. And I have to unfortunately agree. I don't think the Academy would have given it to him if he didn't pass away. Now, unlike some people, I don't want to say that Heath Ledger was the only thing good about this movie because I think the rest of the cast really brings a lot to the table. Yes, Heath Ledger is the standout performance, but that doesn't knock the rest of the cast down. Christian Bale as Batman is my favorite Batman of all time. Yes, I grew up with the Michael Keaton movies. I even enjoyed Val Kilmer's performance as Bruce Wayne. Adam West was great in his time. Kevin Conroy is a voice. You can't compare a voice actor to actors who are actually acting on screen. But Christian Bale, to me, he did such a great job as Bruce Wayne, and I think his Batman is actually underrated because, okay, he does this voice that not a lot of people like. I've grown used to it through time. Maybe it was because Batman Begins, I was already used to it because of that movie, so I was already expecting it with The Dark Knight. Because the backlash felt like it came more when The Dark Knight came out. Like, it was much more louder. And I don't know why, because it's like, why didn't you guys complain more during Batman Begins? If you complained more, maybe they would have changed it earlier. But it doesn't bother me as much, seriously, and it makes sense. I mean, could they have chose a better way? It seems like Ben Affleck's Batman will be choosing a better way by using a modulator to change his voice and deepen it more. So unfortunately, in Nolan's film, he decided to take this approach, a more realistic approach, which I get it, but I don't agree with it. It doesn't bother me. So, but I'm not going to argue with people that don't like the voice and that they are taken out of the movie because of it. So either way, I think it's a win-win scenario. You either like it or you don't like it. Of course, you've got to also talk about Michael Caine and Gary Oldman and Aaron Eckhart. I think all of these actors, supporting actors, are all great. This is a great movie that we actually got to see Two-Face right this time. Because if you remember this, Two-Face, the last movie he was in was Batman Forever, played by Tommy Lee Jones, who didn't really feel like he was having the time of his life. He looked like he was just there getting a paycheck. And in this movie, we get to see Aaron Eckhart play Two-Face the way Two-Face is supposed to be portrayed, and I really enjoyed that. Gary Oldman, the Commissioner Gordon in the other movie, it's not a knock on Pat Hingle, but I feel Gary Oldman definitely is Commissioner Gordon. When you read the comics or you watch the cartoons or whatever, he's very similar to the Commissioner Gordon that I grew up watching when I was a kid or read in comic books. Maggie Gyllenhaal as Rachel Dawes. I will say she is an improvement over Katie Holmes, who I don't mind. Katie Holmes, she was good, and Maggie Gyllenhaal is much better, but it's the character of Rachel Dawes that I don't care much for. Something that you really have to applaud, though, to the writers and Christopher Nolan is that they had the guts to do something that no superhero movie at the time did, and that was killing the love interest. Like, no other superhero movie did something like that at the time. And I remember watching that scene for the first time in the theaters thinking, oh my god, what's going on here? He has to save Rachel and Harvey's the other way, and are the cops going to make it to Harvey on time? So you're kind of aware, this might be the moment where Harvey becomes Two-Face, but you don't realize that Joker gave Batman the wrong address and he's actually going to save Harvey, and then the police get to Rachel and Rachel is dead. And it was like, the look on my face was jaw dropped, and I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that had actually happened in a superhero movie. And it's funny because Spider-Man could have beat Batman to that if they had started off with Gwen Stacy. Instead, that movie came out a couple years after this one. So, it was definitely a game changer, The Dark Knight, and that's kind of what a lot of people really loved about this movie. This movie really upped the ante on superhero films. Like, hey guys, and it's funny because this came out the same year as Iron Man 1. And Iron Man 1 was also changing the atmosphere of superhero movies. So that's what made these movies a lot of fun. The way Joker challenged Batman was also great to see, because we never really got to see Batman's detective work too much throughout the Tim Burton, Joel Schumacher films, right? They were action films, and so was Batman Begins. We got to see a little bit of it here and there throughout those films, but I feel like this one definitely, because the Joker had kind of like leaving clues around for Batman to solve, and him trying to figure out what the Joker's next motives were. It was great seeing Batman have to struggle figuring out that stuff. This was definitely a character study for Bruce Wayne and Batman, and it was great seeing all these characters play off him. There were so many great moments in this movie that definitely, if you haven't seen it yet, you definitely are missing out. This is a great masterpiece. Yes, I'm calling it a masterpiece. I think The Dark Knight is a masterpiece. You might disagree with me. You might be one of the people that will agree with me on this. And if you are, thank you. And, I'm glad I'm not the only one. I know there's other people out there too. But, all I can do is just gush about this movie and say how much I love it. So, guys, I'm going to end it here and giving The Dark Knight a 10 out of 10. This is the best superhero movie of all time. And it's always between the Avengers and the Dark Knight that people are going to pick from. And I love the Avengers too. Don't get me wrong when I'm saying the Dark Knight is the best. Somebody had, we all have to pick our favorite. And if I had to pick, if someone had a gun to my head and told me, pick your favorite superhero movie, you can only pick one, I'm going to say The Dark Knight. So I'm going to end this here because I think you guys are getting tired of hearing me gush about The Dark Knight. And until next time, guys, Dark Knight Rises will be the next movie I review in my Batman Superman movie marathon review. I'm almost done. 2 more movies left. Dark Knight Rises and then Man of Steel. And if you're wondering, David, you skipped Batman Begins. I actually did my Batman Begins review back in June of last year. So I'll hopefully put a link so you guys can check that out if you want, as well as the link to the other Batman and Superman movie reviews that I've done. And until next time, take care.